What's up guys, welcome back to my channel. Welcome back to another book video. If you're new to my channel, what's up? I'm Karla. As I say with every single one of my book videos, I'm so excited to be doing this because I just get to rant about books, and you guys, if you're watching this, you probably care about books or you want to care about books, so this is a fun time. The title of this video is Books That Made Me Believe in Soulmates. I came up with that title a couple days ago, and I started getting books that I've read, and I started reading more books and started seeing if it fit the title and stuff like that. So here's the thing, I pretty much only read romance books. That's just my favorite thing. I can read like contemporary romance, you know, a little mystery, a little whatever, but it has to have a little romance. If you put a little like sprinkle of romance, I'm probably gonna like the book. But something that I've noticed with the more romance books that I read is that not every single like book couple are soulmates. Like some people, like some couples, you know, you end up loving at the end and you're just like, oh, they're so cute together, they're perfect, blah blah blah. But the group of books that I'm going to talk to you about right now are those books where like after you close them, after you finish them, you're like, holy shit, I just read about two soulmates. So if you're interested in reading books that are about two people that are literally born to be with one another, keep on watching. Okay, so usually with my book videos, I leave the best books for last. Not today. Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo and Daisy Jones and the Six. I'm gonna start off with this one, Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. I've talked about this before. I read this back in March, and I've never ever felt the way I felt after I finished this book until I read this one. But that's, you know, Taylor Jenkins Reid for you. This story is about Evelyn Hugo, and she's this like huge Hollywood star. She's now in like her 80s, and she talks back to when like she started her career and the whole like her whole life story from when she had her first husband to her seventh husband and everything that happened in between. She basically reveals literally every single one of her secrets, from like how she got famous to what happened when she was famous. This book is probably the reason I got back into reading. I just read this and I was like, there's no way that I was able to feel that with a book. If you've read it, you know that there is a soulmate situation, and I don't want to say it because I feel like it's a really big spoiler, but I feel like there's two. Obviously she has like her, you know, lover, which I don't want to say who it is, but she also has Harry, and if you've read the book, let me know if you agree. Harry is like her best friend in the story. It's literally one of my favorite characters in a book ever. I just feel like the relationship that Harry had with Evelyn was like a soulmate relationship in a completely platonic way. Okay, so really quickly why I'm gonna go off about this book right now. I started this book yesterday at 11 p.m. and finished it today at 4:35 in the morning. Here are just some pictures of how I ended up. Crushed, broken, in shambles is an understatement to how I felt with this book. In the most like beautiful, glorious type of way. This is one of the best books I've ever read, and if you've read this book, I hope you agree. If you don't agree, read it again. There is a little pickle with this book that you're gonna believe in soulmates in like the most painful way. So the book is about Daisy Jones. She's super talented. She finds herself like as a teenager living in LA in the late 60s, and then all through the 70s she is super talented singer, and then she finds herself joining the band of the Six. It's all about like LA and like alcohol and drugs and what people would do to get like famous. Daisy Jones is this character that even though she's like genuinely really like messed up in a way, she's so beautiful, she's so talented, and she's one of those characters where you could only read about in a book. I don't want to say who the soulmate in here is because I didn't even see it coming when I was reading it. I was like, oh, how's that gonna work? If there's any book that you're gonna read from all these recommendations, it's this one. I'm never gonna read this book for the first time again, and that just made me a little sad right now. Okay, so the next book is kind of a weird one because you wouldn't expect it to be like soulmate type of vibes, and that's this one, The Sweetest, Oblivion. I just finished this like a week ago. I loved it. I thought it was so good. I know there's two more books in the series and I can't wait to read them. The two main characters are Elena and Nico. So this is a mafia love story, and you know, that might be a little weird pairing with the whole soulmate situation because, you know, mafia and everything. I don't know how Daniel Lurie did it, but she literally made like a murder likable. This story is about Nico, which is like the main mafia boss type of dude, and Elena, but it's actually Elena's sister that's engaged to Nico because of like an arranged marriage situation. So Elena just finds Nico to be extremely handsome but extremely rude. She doesn't like him at all. Nico finds her to be a little too over the top, and that's just how the best of love stories happen, you know, when they absolutely despise each other at the beginning. There's a lot of like close proximity. They just find themselves together all the time. He's always protecting her. He's literally doing the most to protect her. They try so hard to stay away from one another, but it just doesn't happen. I just feel like the two characters were so compatible with one another, and they had such good chemistry. And if you can tell that it's chemistry through a book, you know it's good. I would literally hate myself if I didn't put this next book in here because They are the definition of soulmates, and that is the Song of Achilles. I drowned in my tears with this book, pretty much. And no regrets though, no regrets. So the story is about Patroclus and Achilles. It's a Greek mythology sort of book, so it makes it that much more beautiful. This book is not your typical love story at all. It's about Patroclus and Achilles and this literal like bond that cannot be broken. It's about destiny, it's about sacrifice. After I read this book, I was contemplating absolutely everything, but one thing I knew was that they were two soulmates that went through some shit. Okay, next I had to talk about this one. I know everyone and their moms and their dogs and their aunts and their grandmas know about this book, but it's people we meet on vacation. Poppy and Alex, I mean, of course they're soulmates. They've only known each other 10 years and they've only been hiding their feelings from each other for 10 fucking years. They've known each other since the beginning of college. They have this tradition with one another, which is to take a vacation somewhere together every year, every summer, and that's kind of how they keep in touch throughout the years. Even with just their friendship, I feel like it's those type of friendships where you're like, wow, like it just makes sense. Like she's over the top, she's extra, she's loud, she is like outgoing, and he's the complete opposite, which with them it makes sense and it works. And you would think that they would know that and that they would be aware that they're literally the most perfect couple, but they're not. So you go through their situation of how they hide their feelings from one another until they just can't. So yeah, next is this book, Normal People by Sally Rooney. I've already talked about this book in my other video. I've ranted about it, I've said how much I love it, and I'm gonna say it again. So this book is about Marianne and Connell. They basically meet in high school and they're very completely different people. He's like super popular. She is quiet but not shy. She just kind of likes to keep to herself. She doesn't really fit in with the crowd in her high school. And this book takes you through their relationship and their friendship throughout like many years. They go through a lot and you kind of get to see how life pulls them apart so much and they always find their way back to each other, which I feel like is such a key when I think of like soulmates and stuff like that. It's like you literally can't stay away from one another no matter how hard you try or how hard life tells you like you can't be together. The ending is unlike any ending I've ever read. It leaves you kind of guessing, but not in a way you might think. Like it doesn't leave you like, oh, I need to know what happens. It kind of like, for me, throughout reading the book, I just knew that they were like meant to be. They were going to end up together. And if you think that and if you believe that, then the ending makes sense. And the ending is just like, okay, they're together, it's fine, whatever. And I just feel like no matter like what happened in each other's lives, they always found their way back to each other. And that right there is some soulmate shit. Okay, next I'm gonna talk about Miss Colleen Hoover because she knows how to make a story, and she knows how to make a story about soulmates. November 9th, Ben and Fallon. That's it. There's so many like crazy like twists in the story where you're like, okay, there's no way that they can make it work, and they make it work. Spoiler alert, there's a happy ending, but this book takes you through like 100 million twists and turns and you just never know what's gonna happen. And as soon as you think that like you're figuring out the book, you're not. I feel like it's such a memorable and one-of-a-kind type of love story. And Ben and Fallon, you will never forget them. If you read this book, I genuinely feel like this is the type of love story that you don't forget. Next, It Ends With Us. So obviously, I'm talking about Lily and Atlas, no one else. If you've read this book, you know what I'm talking about. But anyways, Lily and Atlas, perfect example of they went their separate ways, and it's like they literally told each other, if it's meant to be, we'll cross paths again, and then, you know, we'll see what happens. And of course they cross paths again, because that's what happens when you have a fucking soulmate. This is literally such a beautiful story in a very sad way, but like it's, yeah, anyways, read it. Okay, next is another one of my all-time favorite books, Christina Lauren's Love in Other Words. Macy and Elliot, the two main characters, live in your head forever after you finish this book. So basically it's about Macy and Elliot. They're childhood friends. They meet each other when they're like 12 years old, and from 12 years old to 18 years old they're literally best friends, and they kind of start a relationship before they abruptly break up when they're 18. Life literally fucks with them and they don't speak for 11 years. So from 18 years old they don't speak for 11 years, and after 11 years they literally run into each other completely unplanned. It's literally like a fate situation. It's literally like friends to strangers to lovers, but soulmates the whole time, and it's so beautiful. Okay, so those were all my books that fit into my soulmate category. But before I finish off this video, I do have two books that I feel like could potentially like be in the soulmate category. I feel like I have like amazing soulmate couples here that I just can't put them in the same category. Like it's like it has to be like an in-between. But these are these two books, Addicted to You and The Deal. The two couples in these books I genuinely really liked. I thought they were really good, and at the end of the book I was like, wow, like I love that couple. But I'm torn between saying like, were they born for one another, or did these people just find themselves in a really good situation with a really good person? But they do deserve like a good shout out. So Addicted to You is a fucked up love story. It's basically about Lily and Lauren. They're both struggling with addictions and they use each other to cover up each other's addictions. These characters were really like messed up in a way, but the thing that saved them was themselves. And then there's The Deal. The Deal reminded me of like a really good Wattpad story. It's basically about Garrett Graham. He's a hockey player, and Hannah, which is a student that's really smart, and they basically obviously make a deal together. Garrett is failing this class, and if he fails that class, he's not going to be able to play hockey, so he makes a deal with Hannah to tutor him. Along the way, they develop a couple feelings for one another, and this story is actually really good. It sounds cheesy, but the story is actually really good. I thought I wasn't gonna enjoy it as much as I did because it did sound a little bit cheesy, but it's actually really good, and the characters are so likable, especially Garrett Graham. So yeah, anyways, these two deserve a little mention. Anyways, that is it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. Oh, before I forget, I actually made a Goodreads. I kept getting comments of people being like, what's your Goodreads? Do you have a Goodreads? And I was like, what's a Goodreads? I figured out how to use it, and I'm actually like updating it with every book that I finish. I go on and I'm like, I give my little summary. Everybody that's added me on Goodreads, I've like added them back, so we're literally forming a book club over there. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you're new to my channel, subscribe, because I'm definitely going to be posting a lot more book content, a lot more content in general. And yeah, I love you guys. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video.